Love is not resentful, and it does not keep score. Job said, "Resentment kills a fool, and envy slays the simple." Job chapter 5, verse 2. Using the language of an accountant, the Apostle Paul says, "Love keeps no record of wrongs." Are you keeping an emotional account book? Every time someone hurts your feelings, does you wrong, or disappoints you, do you add to the ledger? When I was a little boy, whenever my mother bought gas or groceries, the merchants would give her green stamps. They were a dividend. Save up enough stamps and you could redeem those little stamps for gifts from the green stamp catalog. Hurts can be like that too. In relationships, one little offense isn't worth barking about, so sometimes we just save the offenses up. We keep an account book of slights. And when we've been wronged enough times, we cash in, seemingly justified in our anger. After all, we have righteously endured one offense after another. We've been patient long enough. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. Unfortunately, because the offender hasn't been keeping score as we have, he or she's completely baffled about what's happening. When we have finally endured enough, we cash in. To him, our response seems entirely unjustified. In his eyes, it was a little thing, and truthfully, it probably was. Because we have been so patient in the past, our explosive reaction in this case causes them to wonder if they truly know us at all. It's a dangerous game to play, and deadly for agape love. On a personal level, the problem with living with pent-up resentment, it keeps you tied to the pain and traps you in the past. And if you never let go of the past, this is as good as it's ever going to get. Worse, when you keep an emotional scorecard, you are also tied to the pain. Don't let resentment define who you are. Keeping an account book of wrongs means adding them up again and again and again. By replaying the pain over and over, you'll discover the hurt begins to define who you are. And why should you let anyone have that kind of power over you? You become their slave. A wise adage from the 12-step programs says, "Holding a resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die." And before we move on, there are 3 more sources of resentment we need to guard against. First, we need to resist the urge to be a channel for the anger and resentment of others. People can import anger. Something happens to someone else and we become angry. It feels like righteous indignation. But the great problem with secondhand anger is we often don't know all the facts. I've seen cases where the warring parties have settled their disputes while the spectators cling to their resentments. Be on guard. Second, doesn't it seem like we're swimming in a sea of hostility? We not only contend with irritants in our immediate world, we're exposed to all persistent media to anger from around the world. It's a form of emotional pollution that produces resentment in us. We need to filter the emotional air around us. Limit your exposure to long-distance news. Live in the now. Live where you are. And finally, I believe our loss of identity also contributes to pervasive resentment. Doesn't it seem like we're being reduced to a number or worse, to impersonal bits in someone's database? Press 1 for English. The same thing can happen in relationships. We become comfortable with our partners and take liberties assuming they will understand. How many spouses feel taken for granted? I don't matter anymore. And we resent it. What can we do? We can't change the other person, but we can control how we respond. Here are 2 biblical strategies for winning over resentment. First, let it go. Burn the emotional account book. Live in the now, not in the past. Turn the other cheek, Jesus says. And don't become a stamp collector. Second, practice treating everyone with kindness and compassion, especially the ones you have resentment toward. While the Bible has been teaching this principle for thousands of years, psychologists have recently discovered this principle too. For example, a recent article said, science has shown on many occasions that there is a resentment buster in the name of forgiveness. Enright 2012. To forgive is a way of offering goodness to the other one, the one who gave you the unwanted present of resentment. Rather than the strength of the clenched fist and jaw, the strength from forgiveness shows that you can soften your heart toward the one who infected your heart. This can bring you inner relief. Imagine that. The Apostle Paul was right. Love is not resentful. And then he goes on to say, love does not rejoice at wrong. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, Solomon said. Proverbs 24, verse 17. Television and YouTube are full of videos called fails. Walls fall down, things accidentally explode, mayhem reigns, and we laugh. Likewise, people seem to take particular delight when the rich and famous fall. We love stories about people getting their just desserts and tales of comeuppance. But if we have a little love in our hearts, we might just feel a twinge of guilt at our laughter. Paul said, love does not rejoice at wrong. What makes you happy? The next two colors of love reveal first what shouldn't make us happy, what the Germans call Schadenfreude. In our next study, Paul will tell us what should make us happy, the truth. The English word Schadenfreude comes from German into English and means delighting in someone else's misfortune. It's even the title of a song in the Broadway musical Avenue Q. Gary Coleman sings to Nikki. And when I see how sad you are, it sort of makes me happy. Happy! He explains, sorry, Nikki, human nature, nothing I can do. It's Schadenfreude. Make me feel glad that I'm not you. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer famously said, to feel envy is human. To savor Schadenfreude is diabolic. So why do we laugh when bad things happen to other people? Social comparison theory says, quote, humans evaluate themselves not so much by objective standards as by comparison with the people around them. When people around us falter, the theory goes, we often look better ourselves. This is especially true when we see powerful people stumble. We sometimes suspect the rich and powerful became that way by doing something underhanded. They cheated and broke the rules, and a just universe brought them down. Watching them fall gives us a chance to feel morally superior. What does that say about us, though? When we laugh at others' misfortune? Why do people applaud when the waitress drops a tray of dishes or a figure skater falls in a spectacular manner? At best, it's unkind, and at worst, it borders on sadism. No wonder Paul tells us to guard against this kind of sick joy. Don't let bad things make you happy. Love is bigger than that.